Right, hi everybody. Welcome to another episode of Chris's Chat and Babble. It's been a little while. Brian Smith looks a lot better than I do. And actually, in the interviewing period, I've actually met up with Brian Smith. I will post a photograph. We were up at, guess what, a race circuit up near Brian Croft in Yorkshire. And yeah, I had the pleasure of Brian's company for the weekend. Don't worry, he's already managed and come up with a project plan about what I did wrong, what I need to do better, and the timescales. So yeah, welcome back, Brian.
Cheers, Chris. Thank you. Really enjoyed the weekend up at Croft. It was great. I just
Yeah,
wish you'd had
well,
more success.
we came away with the trophies. Whenever that's
That's
that,
good.
as they say, whereas a pilot friend of mine says, you'll know this one, when the number of landings equals the number of takeoffs, it's always been a good day.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
yep, there we go. So, yeah, look, last time we were talking, we got through to the point of being out in Russia, and yeah, a little bit of a delay being caused by things out there, and a 12-week delay. How does Brian make sure that a project keeps running when you can't change the project? Well, over to you. I think I butchered that bit actually, Brian.
No, that's all
So
right.
yeah,
That's all right, Chris. That's all right. You're pretty much on song. Basically, the big issue we had was that at the end of the day, they said it was going to take them 12 weeks to get their network back up and working. You'll remember basically 6 weeks to get all the gear and put it in place, and then 6 weeks to work out where it all had to plug in, etc. So we're left with 12 weeks, can't do anything. So just going back to the mantra that says don't change the plan. It does say don't change the plan unless you really have to. And my point with this one was we really had to. The real issue that you face as a PM is that if you lose your team for 4 weeks, you'll never get them back. You will just never get them back. So the problem here was to get the customer to understand that that was the issue, to get the customer to understand that he had the best team in the world that was ever going to be here, and he couldn't afford to lose them. And therefore, he had to pay us to keep the team in place, which they eventually agreed to do. The next problem for me was, what the hell am I going to do with them for 12 weeks? Don't change the plan. But here we came to a situation where we had to change the plan. So it was a case of, okay, so what can we move in order to allow us to occupy these guys for 12 weeks? So we did a few things like holidays and days off and all that sort of thing, going home early. But essentially what we did was take any analysis stuff that we had to do, like what are they doing, how are they doing it, when are they doing it, why are they doing it, and we brought that stuff forward so that we could then occupy ourselves and occupy them while we weren't actually on the keyboard doing anything. That's the deal. And the real key here is if you lose the team for even a short period of time, like 2 to 4 weeks, that's it. You'll never get them back. So you've got to make sure you hang on to them. And that means they've got to be usefully employed. And somebody has to pay the bill.
yeah. So this wasn't the first time this has obviously happened to you, but was this? I mean, a 12-week delay. When you think about it, 12 weeks doesn't sound that long until you think that's a quarter of a year.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a long time. So
On,
how
on a
did you?
15-month project, Chris?
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
But how did you? What tools did you come equipped with to cope with that one? And was it just the experience that got you there, or is this something that you've learned because you get taught about this? Where'd you get that? That seems a common thread with me. How do you learn about experience?
I don't know, Chris. And I I was never taught any of this stuff. It just happens.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly you're there and they're going, well, we can't get the thing up for 12 weeks. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a sec. We need the network to do the work. And I'm also well aware from previous experience that, Brad had come along. I need this guy, one of your key players. He needs him for 3 weeks. And if you say, yeah, not a problem, then the next thing is, Brad, where's my guy? Sorry,
Yeah.
he hasn't quite finished yet, and so it's 6 weeks, and you never see him again.
I do remember at the time, I was always quite surprised because I was thinking trying to get your guys to do other things would be helpful to you, and I couldn't quite understand the reluctance, and it's only now that I can kind of see that. So okay, so what what did you do? You got these guys doing as much analysis, you brought that side forward.
Yeah, just didn't change the plan so much as rejig it. Found some stuff over here and brought it up to here where we were going to deal with it, which in fact took all of this stuff and pushed it back into the space that created, but stuck with the basics of the plan, what they're doing, who's doing it, when's it starting. That bit changed. How long it's going to take didn't change. Because the start date changed, the finish date changed. So I had to play with those. And then the same with the chunk that I moved back. Now, you know it's going to be 12 weeks. And the problem that you now face is, can they get done what they need done in 12 weeks? Answer, not real sure about that. But you move the 12 weeks lot, and you might find that it's convenient to move 13 or 14 weeks just to finish off that bit, in which case you can do it. You just do it. So you create this block of work of 14 weeks that fits in there instead of back here, and then you work on that 14 weeks. If they get it done in 12 weeks, you go, okay,
Yep.
not a problem.
Yep.
If they get it done in 16 weeks, you kind of go, listen, guys, what do you expect me to do here? You know, I need some more cash to keep these guys. Put money on the table, and then they'll start doing it quicker. Now, the other thing that we did was I got my nuts and bolts guy working with them to make sure that became a new task for him, to make sure that they actually got on with it and got it done quickly. And in point of fact, they took about 11 weeks. I had, I think, 13 weeks stuff that I'd moved. So a week and a half, okay. We just pushed everything back by a week and a half.
So you
No
said
problem.
you got your tech guy to help out from there. So what you're saying is you actually invested in the problem to actually help your project be successful.
Of course. That's what project management's about. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all about getting the project to be successful. And
I wonder
that's
how many people would have thought about doing that though, in terms of helping to fix the problem, rather than standing there and going, "That ain't our problem."
well, I don't know.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah, interesting.
not my approach to the world. It's
Hmm.
like, you know, you see somebody in trouble, you go, can I help you? And you mean it,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
You get in and give them a hand. And in
Yeah.
this case, there was, if you like, I was buying insurance because I was prepared to invest him in order to make sure they were on time. And then I made sure that as part of my reporting, that he was feeding back to me where they were at. So, you know, the first thing you're saying is, listen, Jack, get in there, nuts and bolts, right? But I want to know what they're doing. I want to know what they're planning to do. And he went, planning? Planning? Yeah, planning. I want to know what they think they're going to do. And then what I want you to do is to feed back to me where they're up to at the end of each week. I need to know that
Clever.
they're going to make it or they're not going to make it, because I need to be able to play the game.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
love me for it. I mean, they love me because I helped.
Yeah, that's incredible though, because what I've seen often is that people will see a problem. Yeah, look, I'm like you. I like to get involved and help out where I can, where I see a problem, whether it's my responsibility or not. Um, and if you want, part of that could be seen as micromanagement in the wrong way, but actually in other ways, it's trying to get a job done. Go back to some of my motor racing analogies. If I see someone struggling in the pit next to me, I'll help them. Why will I help them? Well, I don't want them there when we come in. So guess what? Get that
Yeah.
out the way so that when we do, and I'm not trying to bring everything back to that one, but it's an interesting take on things. So okay, yeah, I think the clever part you did there though is you helped us to reduce the problem, but you also then know really what is happening rather than perhaps what you're being told, because there's the version of the truth, and then there's the reality, isn't there?
My guy's giving me the reality, right?
Clever bloke.
I don't live in a world of make believe. I live in a world.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later. There is science in this thing. It's not all art and drinking coffee and feet on the table. There are things that you have to have in your hand. You have to know that you're 2 days behind. You have to know that this guy is 3 days in front and that guy's a day and a half behind. You'll be able to pick him up and put him over there and get them both balanced out. You have to know. The question that we'll talk about later is, how the hell do you know? And that's a biggie, because that's
Mm.
where the science can really help you to understand where the project's at and what you've got to do to keep the project going forward on schedule, on budget, because that's what it's about. Deliver the
Yep.
project, deliver it on schedule, and deliver it on budget. Better than
Yep.
budget and schedule if you can achieve it. But you must
So,
deliver the project. You can't half deliver.
so you moved testing forward then, did you? Was that the big chunk you moved forward?
No, I moved. We were getting down the line, and what we had was a big chunk of training. We'd done a lot of analysis on for what they wanted and how they wanted and what they did and how they did it. And then we had a chunk of time for training the SMEs about what the system was, because they didn't know anything about it, but they're supposed to be helping us out to develop and grow the thing and test it before we deliver the bits, before we put the bits over here and say, okay, that bit's done. So
So
what
how many
we
weeks
did
of
was
that did you
move
have
the
in the
training to
original
be
plan
forward.
then?
Sorry?
So how many weeks of that did you have in the original plan then? Was it a convenient 8 or 12 week chunk, or what was it?
I honestly, without looking at the plan, I have no idea. I think from memory, we had a substantial bit of the 12 weeks, and it was, and we moved. I think I moved two chunks. I moved that chunk, and I moved the introduction to the system for the stakeholders.
Okay.
So I moved our guys' training of the SMEs so that the SMEs understood what they were dealing with. But and we were doing that all on laptop. We weren't doing it on the
Yeah.
network. It was on a
Because of
laptop
course you had
version.
no net. That's why you couldn't do testing either, because you got
Yeah,
the whole thing's disappeared. You
yeah,
got nothing
no,
to
no
test.
network. So then what we did when we completed that, we left them running with that version on the laptop. And then we used a copy on another laptop to run a training session for the stakeholders, which was also in our plan. The testing, etc., was all dependent upon completing the development, so we couldn't do any of that. And so
Mm.
we did, but as I said, we also said to everybody, well, like, put up your hand if you want to take a week or two off.
Yeah.
Okay,
Clever.
they went on leave. You didn't let everybody go, but one or two here and there. Just manage the whole thing.
Do you think with SaaS is the big word now, rather than being platform or anything else like that? Do you think that would have prevented that problem?
Not
Because
in this case. Not in this
no.
case. I mean, Chris, I'd been through the disaster recovery out of the blue in Ireland, right?
Yeah.
And I went into Russia and did all that stuff, and and when I came to the go live checklist, 150 odd items on there, and it said, "Have you got a DR plan?" and that was put on there because of what had happened in Ireland. And he said, like, what's all that? So we went, okay. We went through a whole process to get him a copy of a DR plan as a starting position. But I never thought, it never crossed my mind that we were also totally dependent on this bloody network. And if it went down, it's never been down on any project. It'll never go down. Yeah, well, guess what, guys? It didn't only go down, it went away. And then we had to get all the gear and everything. I mean, it was a disaster.
Yeah.
But it never
Yeah.
crossed my mind. Never even crossed my mind that this could be a problem until I'm in the middle of this meeting and they're going, "Oh yeah, well, don't you realise, Brian? It's gone missing." Like, what? What do you mean it's missing?
Okay, so where'd you go from here then? So you've moved everything else around. What's the next step?
Well,
You haven't lost the team, which is good news.
yeah.
So
I mean, the key message is don't lose the team. Do whatever you can,
Okay.
whatever you have to do to keep the team. But you remember, somebody's got to pay the bill. So you've got to
Yeah.
convince the customer that, this is the best team in the world. And if we lose them, Jesus, God only knows what will happen.
Yeah, great comment there. Great comment.
So, okay, so that was really just a little bit to finish off that Russian experience. It was, oh God, yeah. See all these.
Yeah, you weren't great. You weren't great when you went there, but you were when you came back. You used to hide it under that bearskin hat, as I remember.
Was I ever? Okay, so I think that's about it. What I wanted to quickly touch on is to go forward a bit, like a couple of things. I want to talk about change control, stakeholders, and everyday issue management, because these things are meat and potatoes for the PM. The everyday issue management, it happens every damn day. The customer will come to you, and particularly when you get into testing, they'll go, "It doesn't work." Like, what do you mean it doesn't work? Like, we've tested it, it works. No, we tried it and it doesn't work. Okay, tell us what you did. And then we find out. We go, yeah, it doesn't work, because it doesn't work like that anymore. You have to do it this way, not that way.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was, we just found out that it doesn't do X, Y, Z. Like,
Yep.
no, it doesn't do X, Y, Z. But we need it to do X, Y, Z. Like, why? And now we get into an analysis process, get the lead architect in. What are you trying to do? How do you do it? No. We don't do it like that in the new system. It does it like this. This is how, you see? This is, oh, right, okay, all right. The other one you get, and this is what I hated. I hated it. Say, oh, we were just running this job, doing a test, and it froze. What do you mean it froze? Well, it stopped. Nothing happened. Now I'm doing my PM thing, and I'm jumping up and down on the techies and going, listen, guys, you cannot do this. If you get to a circumstance where the system can't continue, you must do one of two things. You've got to call a routine that says to the customer, I can't proceed because of X, Y, and Z. I know it. Or the record that you're working on, stop, report it, and then find the next record and continue. You cannot have a system that freezes. But we didn't. I don't care. I don't care whether you expected it or not. Here's the situation. Here's some poor clown on the phone talking to some idiot customer, and they're trying to put information into the system, and they're going, oh, the computer's stopped. Yeah. The computer says no. Like, give me a break. There's no need for that. There's no need for that at all. Call a routine, move on. So that's
but you're, yeah. I'm surprised though that you're having to sort of like manage that into that one, because that almost seems like a programming ABC, doesn't it?
Chris, they don't do it. They just don't do it. It makes sense. I mean, there's another one. We're always, and we've got some really, really clever people. There's always something new that you have to do.
Yep.
Right? There
Yep.
always is. So you get this bright spark over here, and he comes up with this brilliant idea of how to do this, and this, right? And he writes and he does the screens and all the rest. And the trouble is, I've got all these white screens going down, going up, everything's what, and then I get a black screen and I go, what the hell do I do with that? They don't build so that it integrates with what's there. And most importantly, the look and feel of what we're building is the same as the rest of it. And they go, oh yeah, but we can do it better. No, that's not the deal. The deal is some poor idiot sitting on the phone has to understand what he's doing. And
Yep.
nobody, including you, Mr. Brightspark, can tell me everything that CC&V does. It's just not possible. But you can infer how this bit will work from what you know about that bit up there.
Yep. Yep.
But the look and feel has to be the same. They don't build
Has
that
to
in
be for
either
me.
because they're busy more bells and more whistles. No. Just give me ordinary.
Yeah, you see, I don't think about that as being part of your role, because in some ways that should be what, the development team. I know you're the project manager, but
It's the lead
I guess that,
architect's role. I agree.
yeah.
But
Well, I guess as well though, the buck
who,
stops with you though, doesn't it?
who do we get to be the lead architect, Chris?
Yeah.
The guy
Yeah.
who's the brightest spark in the team. And
In the
he's got
team.
all
So
these great ideas, and you go, listen, you, settle down. So that's the thing. You have to worry about that. A couple of things about everyday issue management. As the PM, I would go to the lead architect and tell him, listen, I want you to nominate for me one of your bright architects. I need a really bright guy. I need somebody who knows enough about the system because I want him to run my issue management. And what this guy is going to do is every issue that hits us, he is going to triage it and he is going to decide this is an issue or not an issue. He's the guy that's going to get rid of the doesn't work like that anymore. It works like this. Really? Show me. Let me have a look see. No. You don't do that. You do this. Or, yeah, that is an issue. And he will control. He does the triage to get rid of the rubbish and find me that core stuff that we are actually going to have to deal with. And then on top of that, they create an issues log. The issues log you have to. He runs the issues log for me, and that is we have a consecutive numbering of issues. We have what the issue is, who reported it, when it was reported, when we looked at it and decided it was an issue, or if it wasn't an issue, when we threw it out, who we gave the problem to, who we told, how we fixed it, when we fixed it, when we tested it, and when we handed it over to them fully tested, ready. And because that information, those dates are critical to your ability to manage the customer. Because don't forget, and this is the really big issue, your system doesn't work. Yours, your personal system. And you've got to be able to say, hang on a sec, you gave us this problem on last Wednesday. We looked at it on Thursday. We evaluated it on Friday. We passed it to Joe Bloggs on Monday. On Monday afternoon, we got the solution. We tested it Tuesday morning. We gave it to you Tuesday morning. Let's see. Today's Friday. You're still telling me you've got the problem, but we gave you the answer 3 days ago. Now, don't come jumping up and down on me. But
that doesn't happen all the time, does it?
Oh, you want to bet? Were you ever a customer?
Yeah, I was. I mean, I'm thinking about our last. It's a very interesting thing, isn't it? Because this is what we see all the time. Is now I've been working a little bit more on RFPs. I see people coming along and saying, "Oh, we want the system to do this, 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 this," and it's like, right. So you want to move from the platform that you've got to CCMB, CCS, C2M, call it whatever you want, and you just want to replicate what you were doing the other way. How about doing it a completely different way, because this is what the new platform does? And the customer's like, no, I want it all to do this. I want it to put an X in the top right hand corner of every screen. Why? Because we've always done it that way. Well, you don't need it. Well, so do you think that side of it starts too late in projects, or do you think that that's something that the only time you can start it is there? Because I always think, if you can tell people, the worst thing is the unexpected, isn't it?
Yep.
And so if you say to people, and I know of at least one project which failed because the decision was made to put this new technology and no one was told about it. The users then went, well, we don't like this, we've been told what to do. And actually the project failed because everyone was against it. The only reason they're against it is because they hadn't been told about
Yeah.
it, and therefore everyone's like, no, I'm not going to do it. So, in your
We
experience of
we
project
talked
management,
we talked about this early on one of the earlier podcasts. You have to take the customer with you. You have to take the
yep,
team with you, and if you
yep,
don't, it will fail. There is absolutely no question. The
yeah,
NHS system development here failed because they didn't take the doctors with them, and when they rolled it all out, I think it was about 3.5 billion, and the doctors went, nah, not doing that.
yeah, yeah. You see, I've always thought, I think when we were talking about it earlier on, I'd always envisaged as the company's IT team that you're bringing with you, but actually it's the users, it's the actual, yeah,
It's the guy at the keyboard, mate. It's
yeah,
the bunny. He's the one.
yeah,
You have to take him with you, and
okay,
you have to do that as soon as you can. So one of the things about training the SMEs is that they become your vehicle to carry the message back to the guys at the desk, saying, "You won't believe this system is so bloody terrific. You
mm,
won't believe how easy it is. And it can do that. You know all those problems we were having? Well, it doesn't.
yeah,
It solves it. We tried it. We tested it. It's fabulous."
yeah,
You know, they're the people who carry the message for you. And then, as soon as you can, you start expanding that message from those guys out to the stakeholders, and from the stakeholders out to the people at the desk. And you always take the opportunity, if someone from the desk comes up to see you for whatever reason, you always take the opportunity to say, "Come and have a look. Sit down. Look, Joe, just show Louise how that works," right?
mm,
And the point is, it's just involvement of them and understanding that they are going to take that message back to the people at the sharp end. And that's what you
yeah,
need. It's all
yeah.
about understanding. You've got to broadcast that message if you can. And you're the PM. At the end of the day, it's your bloody system.
Yeah, but you see, this is where it's interesting, isn't it? Because that's why you need a really good lead architect who actually understands that that is part of their job description, which is the hand holding. And I think that's something that maybe people don't understand until they get there. And that's why being a consultant is different from being a techie or being a developer or being a design. You just do what you're told there. This is now a case of actually, right, I've got to shoulder some of this responsibility. I've got to pull the customer through on this one. And yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's having that
Yeah.
and making it easy. And I guess that you also realize from a project management point of view that the first week of that is going to be a nightmare, and hopefully that will then decrease on a curve, or that will get better. So do you manage that within the project in terms of knowing that week one is going to be difficult? I mean, can you when it comes to the customer side, can you actually quantify that that's going to be more difficult than week two and week three, and by week four, actually, you'll only have one issue coming up?
Gee, that's an interesting perspective. Interesting question. I guess I've never I've never thought about it. You know, my approach to the world is plan it away from the heat of battle, run the battle according to the plan. And if there are opportunities, those peripheral opportunities, if they come up, then I will take the chance to do it. You know, if the IT director, the customer's IT director comes to me and he says, Brian, can we sit down and have a chat? I go, yeah, sure. What is it you want to chat about? Well, I've been talking to this guy at there, and I went to this show, and I went, and they're telling me this is the situation, and I look at it and I say, well, it can be that, but we're not going down that path. We're going down a different path. And if you look at the plan, these are the areas that we're dealing with, and I can show you the plan if you want. He said, no, I've seen the plan. I said, well, this is the area that you're talking about, and this is what we're doing. We've got your guys involved. Your guys are telling us what they do at the moment. And what we're doing is interpreting the action and the activity in the way the base system is coded to deal with that problem. You know, you're talking about, let's say they're talking about cancel and rebuild, which always comes up. You know, they need to cancel and they need to rebuild, but the system doesn't do that. Well, actually it does. And this is the part of the system that we're dealing with. This is where we're going to deal with it. We haven't dealt with it yet. It's in the plan, and we will get to it on this date. However, you need to understand there are all of these controls over here that impact what's happening with that part of the system. Your people have to make decisions about these things before we can crack on with it. It's his problem now. It's not mine.
So how do you track all this stuff? Do you use software? Do you use Excel? What do you do? I'm sure Smithy's got an answer.
We'll do all that. I will. When we start talking about reporting, I've thought through how we're going to do that, and we're going to talk about how we do it rather than what the structure of a report is. We're going to talk about how we get the data that we have to put in that report. And it's not the thing that's important to remember. It's not just the report for the customer or the stakeholders. It's a report for you. You have to understand the data that you've collected and what it's telling you about where you're at. And we'll talk about that in a session later. All right?
Okay, sounds good to me.
What I'd like to I think issue management. Create yourself a spreadsheet.
There's plenty of tools, isn't there? There's all the Windrunner and stuff like that you could use and everything else. But yeah.
But essentially, you need to be able to know what the problem was, when it was reported to you, who reported it, who you gave the problem to, when it was fixed, and when you gave it back to them. It's very important to know when you passed it back to them, because normally you get a fix, you test it, and then you package that fix with several other things that you're going to hand over. And it's important for you to know when that was handed over, because at that point you can say, not my circus, not my monkey anymore. But if they take 6 weeks from the time you gave it to them, you go, don't jump up and down on me, guys. You've had it for 6 weeks, and you haven't even bothered to test it, let alone put it in live. What are you doing? So all of those dates, I collect them, and I get my my issue management guy to collect it and keep track of it. And part of the reporting there, and what I do there, is work out our average start to finish date from the date we accept it to the date we hand it over. And then I can say, they say, oh, we gave you this job, 3 weeks ago, and we still haven't heard anything. Well, Actually, you gave it to us 2 weeks ago. We gave it back to you 3 days ago, and you guys haven't done anything with it.
So do you keep talking to the customer on a daily basis in the situation to sort of update them on this stuff? Because surely this is, it isn't us versus them situation.
No,
It's a collaboration because we're all trying to go the same way,
no,
aren't we?
it isn't. It's not adversarial in that sense at all. But what it is making sure that you cover your bum. You
Mm,
don't want to be in a situation where your system isn't working. You're not
yep.
doing this. It's my
Mm,
system. And in point
yep.
of fact, it isn't my bloody system, it's theirs. Because
Is this?
I'm going to walk away at the end. I don't have customers, I
Yeah.
don't have electricity, and, that's not the deal. But,
You're not 24-hour
yeah,
support.
but
Is
while
that is
it's
it?
there,
Yeah.
while I'm there, it's my system, and they want it. They want me to be
Mm,
responsible for it. I'm going, no, I'm not responsible. I'm responsible for doing the work and getting it done. You're responsible for the system and the outturn at the end of the day.
Is there ever something in the contract which says that when it comes to testing, this is the service level agreement that we're going to get to? Is
Yeah.
that something that's in there?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. That's the bane
I,
of our life. And guess who puts it in there? The bloody
yeah.
salesman.
I was going to say, I knew the answer was going to be sales from the moment I asked that.
Oh
But
dear.
I guess as well, though, the client must have signed up to that to
Oh,
say
they
that,
do. They
a,
do.
a release, if we give you a
No,
fix,
no,
you've got 5 days to
no,
check it.
no. They sign up to the fact that we are going to give them a service level of this. We are going to turn stuff around in this amount of time. They don't sign up to the fact that they're going to turn it around as well. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Okay.
But they still expect us to deliver to that service
Yep.
level agreement. The point is, you need to understand the stats. You need to understand that average, how long it takes from the time that you say, yeah, that's a problem, we need to deal with it, to the time that you give it back to them. You need to understand that, and you need to know what that average is.
Mm.
You need to know how that relates to the service level agreement. You're never going to quote the service level agreement back at them, but you are going to say, well, our average time is 4.25 days to get it from the time that we accept it to the time that we fix it, test it, and hand it back to you guys. That's our average. Now,
Mm.
certainly, there are some problems that we get that will take 3, 4, 5 weeks. In fact, we had one. Where was that? Somewhere or other. I think it might have been in Estonia or Poland. Poland, I think. And it took like 5 weeks because we had to go back to the US and get them to fix an issue.
Oh, it was a proper product issue
Oh,
rather than just being a,
proper
yeah, okay.
product issue. But the customer don't care about where the problem is.
No, 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 absolutely.
It's got to get fixed. So,
Mm.
and of course, you take something like that when you're doing 3.5 to 5 days average turnaround time, and suddenly you throw in five
That
weeks,
screws it, doesn't it?
just
Yeah.
destroys it. So what I would do is in the report I would say the average turnaround time is whatever it was, 18, right? Over the whole period that we've done so far. However, there is this one issue that we're desperate, and it is impacting the figures, and it's issue number 86, blah blah blah. What I will in future do, because this is exceptional, is I will exclude that from the calculations of the average turnaround time because it's just outside the norm.
Mm.
And put that in the weekly report. Leave it like that. I'll leave that comment in for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll just drop it out and start talking to them about 3.5 days again.
Okay, that sounds like clever project management. I mean, one of the things we did was bring across part of the development team at that point as well, didn't we? Which I think paid huge dividends in terms of speeding up that
Yeah,
initial view. And actually, I think this is where an offshore development team can actually be used very, very strongly because you pick up the problem in 9 to 5 UK time.
yeah,
You then triage it. You then look at the external design, get someone to look at the internal design, chuck it back to the team. They've then got 8 hours to return it, so that when you come back in the next day, hopefully you've got a
Remember,
solution. And
MDC, thank you ever so much.
absolutely, absolutely. But I think it's one of those. I think people often see that the offshore teams can be a disadvantage, and whilst
No,
there is, yeah,
no.
yeah, exactly. Whilst there's a timing issue with it, actually you can use it very strongly because you get 2 8-hour days to work through stuff. Yep.
There you go.
Okay.
Down there for
Okay.
dancing, up here for thinking.
So has that covered off the everyday issue management and
Pretty much. I've got a template that I'll send you.
okay,
The issue management template, the issue log, if you like, that you can give to people if they want it. Okay.
okay.
All
You've
right.
heard it here, guys.
So it's an Excel spreadsheet, so it's easy. But it's got set out all the data, and I can't remember, but I think because it's a while ago since I did all this, I think it's got the calculations for the averages in there.
Probably an Alan Archbold macro sitting there or something like that, isn't it?
Probably, I honestly couldn't say, and
Okay.
I don't think I'd label Al with that anyway. So, can we talk about stakeholders? Because I've got some things that I think are important for us to understand with stakeholders.
Yep.
Essentially, a stakeholder is anybody who has invested in the project.
Client side only.
No, I did say anybody with
And that was
with
why I asked the question.
with emphasis. So it is anybody. Anybody. It's not only the client management. It's not only the SMEs. It's not only the keyboard people. Everybody who invests in this thing is a stakeholder. Now let's think about that. What are our team doing? What is our PM doing? We're investing in the bloody system, and therefore we are a stakeholder. We need, as a PM, we need to recognise that our team are stakeholders. And because we're producing a weekly report and giving it to everybody out there, the steering committee and every man and his dog all over the place, we also need to make sure that our team understand and get a copy of that report if they want it. I won't give it to them and push it down their throat, but I will say, okay, we're having a weekly meeting, usually around lunchtime on Monday, because the report will come out Monday morning. Give them the report, and we'll have a quick meeting, and meetings, bloody meetings, you always get that. But I just go, listen, guys, I just want you to understand where we're up to, and then I'll give them the key points, like where we should be according to the plan, where we are according to the information that they've fed back. So far as the schedule is concerned, they're interested in the schedule, right? That's what they're interested in. They don't give a stuff about the budget. Just quietly, they don't care. But
That's not their job to care, though, is it?
that's
Their
true.
job's to do. But I think that's an incredible thing, though, isn't it? Because most people change jobs because they don't feel included, they don't feel valued, they don't feel part of the team.
Yep.
And guess what you've just done there by a very simple thing. And I think the funny thing is everyone will grumble about it. As long as they're grumbling about it, you know it's good, because the moment you take it away, they'll complain louder. That's okay.
So what I was going to say is that the books generally make a big thing about managing the stakeholders, blah, blah, blah. Don't forget, your guys are also part of the stakeholders. If we go back, you remember we had our 6 good men and true, why, what, where, etc. Why?
Yes.
Why is it important? Everybody is who invests in the project. If you think about it, They put their career, their cash, their reputation on your ability to deliver the project. Now that's pretty awesome. They invest their career. In point of fact, when we did Poland, and that eventually, even though we did it successfully, and eventually the German head of the group cancelled the whole damn thing. They fired, of the, I think it was 8 people, the principals that we had as SMEs, they fired 6 of them. One guy had been with the company for 28 years. And they went, bye.
Why?
Because they were seen to be unsuccessful. They had invested so much time and effort and money into the system, and then they had not taken the initiative to do the conversion. So they had like a 7 million euro system with 500 customers on it after a year and a half.
Whoa.
Done.
Yeah. But I guess that comes down to the whole thing, though, isn't it? You can lead the horse to water, you can't make him drink. You know,
that was the big problem there. We showed them, we told them, we demonstrated it, we did everything, and all they would commit to was any new business, any new customers, they'd put them on the system. None of their existing stuff would they move over. We went.
Is this because they didn't want to do the data migration?
I don't know why.
I don't know.
It doesn't make sense. I never understood it then. I still don't understand.
Yep. So as you said, there's a stakeholder that got it wrong then.
Absolutely. So that's the why. Let's talk about what their view and that of their colleagues is, that the project is what they need to deliver so they can do business even better. That's what they want. They want you to deliver the system so they can do business even better, and probably, depending upon their point of view, more profitably than what they're doing today. Otherwise, there is absolutely no reason, motivation or otherwise, to do the project. They want to do things better, cheaper, quicker, be more effective. There's a whole bunch of what's, but essentially they want to do better than what they're doing right now. And so that's the we've done the why, what, where. Generally, what did I say here? Yeah. They generally sit in the upper echelons of the company, you know, our traditional stakeholders.
Yep.
Right? They have the power and the influence within the corporate structure. These people generally have a genuine interest in the successful outcome of the project. Generally, it's not
mutually exclusive.
No,
yeah.
And it's not necessarily a given. There are potentially other political issues going on. When we were at SMA BPT in Paris, there was an active level of management that was trying to bring the project undone.
But I think there is everywhere, isn't there, Brian? There's always a little bit of a contrary opinion.
Yep.
I don't think we've yet had a project where there isn't, and perhaps that degree of skepticism is healthy to have, because you need someone to hold you in account for the good and the bad.
Yes, provided it's healthy criticism and it's not pointedly
subversive,
and destructive. So the thing about these guys at the top of the tree is that they're more interested, and you need to understand this as a PM, they're more interested in the outcomes than they are in the project. They don't give a stuff about the project. They want to see the result at the end of the day. And you have to cater to those whims, even if sometimes they seem ridiculous. You know, oh, we want you to give us a demonstration of the system. But we're only 3 weeks in. This is a 15-month project.
Give it back to the sales. Give it back to the salespeople.
Yeah.
Give it back to the salespeople. That's not your problem.
Well, there is that about it, and one can get in bed with the salespeople and say, "Come in here and show us what you showed them." Anyway, so that's
Never lift your kilt.
that's where they are. Yeah, exactly. How? There's a need to keep them informed as you progress towards the delivery of the outcomes that they desire. This is probably where the agile project management comes into the fore.
Okay.
If other than CC&B, if I was running a project other than CCB, I would always look for a discrete element that I could give them in order to give them something on account. For example, in one of the projects that I ran, we were doing a claim system, and it, of course, had to have a customer management element. So we developed the customer management element, and we gave it to them and got them to run with that. And we did a conversion, etc., so that they got something. The thing that I keep saying to people is, you have to understand, these guys have invested 7 million euros, and we keep asking them for more money and more money and more money and more money, and they keep going,
Yep.
but what have I got? When am I going to get it? Oh, 18 months, it'll be fine. Like, no, you're asking me for like 250 grand now. Like,
Are these because of the change orders and things like that, and the change requests, and yeah, okay, out of scope. Yep.
so the thing is that we need to give them something if it's possible. I will say this: I think CC&B is a more difficult animal because it's so large and it's so integrated. Breaking any element of that out, hugely difficult. You can have MDM operating over there, and they can do that. They can get that and get it implemented independent of CC&B. But you can't have CC&B running. You can't have customer care, for example, running independent of the rest of it.
Yeah.
So CC&B is a slightly different problem. As a general rule for a PM, if you're sensitive to the customer and what he's paying for, and the fact that even the CEO is going to go to the board and he's going to say, well, we've paid out another 4.5 million euros to Oracle. And somebody on that board's going to go, okay, so what did we get for the 4.5 million? Nothing yet, but we will, like, at the end of the year. Like, what? So the CEO, even, he has to justify what's going on. You've got to keep him across what's going on if you can, so that you give him some protection and insurance. So
that's why, what, where, how,
when. Well, a written weekly report I would normally do. I start collecting data for that report usually on Thursday afternoon, carry it through Friday, work on it over the weekend, and release it first thing Monday morning. So what we do is the collection of the data is another element of managing the team, managing the people. So I would spend a couple of minutes, well, maybe even 15, 20 minutes with each one of the people on the project as best I could every week. So I'd sit down and say, okay, Chris, what have you been doing this today? But before I did that, I would actually go and look at the plan and say, Chris should have done these things this week. So I'll sit down and say, okay, Chris, what are you working on? ABC. Oh, right. What else have you? Is it finished? No, it's not finished. How long have you got to go? Probably half a day. Be finished tomorrow. Okay. So what else have you done this week? Well, I did that and that. Okay. How long did they take? Right. What about this? That was on your list too. What happened to that? we decided we didn't need that. All right. So who decided? Mr. Lead Architect, come over here. How come we decided not to do that? I've got a bloody change request that says it's got to be in there. What do we do about that? That is the thing. Or I'd go and say, okay, Chris, what have you been up to this week? So, well, I've done that, and that, and I'm working on this. Okay, so, and that is in accord with my list. So what?
Of course it is. I'm perfect.
Yeah, where are you up to? Well, I'm doing all right. Should be finished tomorrow. Okay, right. So how long did that take? Oh, a day, couple of hours. Yeah, 3 hours, 4 hours. Okay, that's near enough a 40-hour week. But this was supposed to be a week and a half's work. So now I'm thinking, what happened? Did we cut a few corners? That's how we got it quick. Do we not do something and ticked it off anyway? And if Chris, if you report to me 100% according to the plan, the first thing I do is go. So he knows how to read a plan.
Yeah, but there's where you're too experienced, because if I do it on time, you're suspicious. If I do it early, you're suspicious, and if I do it late, you're suspicious. So I think we've just worked out you're just suspicious.
No, you get this done quicker,
Yep.
and he'll go.
Yep.
No. It'll just destroy things. Okay, fine, but you better finish on time, mate.
But this comes down to your same thing. Only give people a task that's
Yeah.
a week at most, and manage and do. But that's the skill of being a project manager, isn't it?
Yeah. And
Okay.
the last one is of course the
So
who, and it's
the who.
what we talked about. Everybody who has an interest in the successful outcome of the project, including our team, is a stakeholder to one degree or another. Generally, as I've said, members of the upper echelon in the corporate hierarchy will be the prominent stakeholders, and you need to pat them on the head from time to time and tell them how wonderful it's going to be, just like the salesman said. But normally, what you can do is you can outsource keeping them informed to the lower echelons within the company. So the project manager, the members of the steering committee will feed it up the line. You've just got to make sure that the messages that are going up the line are consistent with your report. So from time to time, I'll shoot a copy of the report, like every 5 or 6 weeks. I'll shoot a copy of the report up to one of the stakeholders mistakenly. Sorry, but he's got a copy of the report and he can compare what he's being told with what I'm telling him. So there we are.
Wow. So is that it on change control? Is that it on stakeholders? Is it change control now?
Okay, change control. Right.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me just think through that stakeholder stuff there. So you've got the why, what, where, how, when, who.
What else do you want to know?
Yeah, I was going to say, there's it's quite funny. So actually, it's just those 6 things, isn't it? And as you said, include everyone, bring them all on the journey. It's a hell of a lot easier than excluding them. And yeah, in the same way you said, you lose the team members, the project's gone.
Yeah.
Lose the stakeholders, the project's gone. So
yeah.
Okay. I guess that's a good full stop to have at the end there. Trust. Yeah, have that trust in there and then go from there. So
yeah. So the thing is, there's another bit of my mantra is that you have to maintain the trust. The thing is that trust is one of those things you grow over a long, long time and you lose it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So even when things have gone to hell in a handbasket, you've got to be able to put your hand up and sit down with the principal stakeholders and go, listen, guys, we are in trouble here. And this is lifting your kilt. this is a problem. This is what we've done about it. This is where we're up to in fixing it. We think it will be delivered by then. This is also a problem, and it's impacting that, and that is something that we have to change because of the impacts here. We've designed the change. We're busy at the moment trying to code it, and we believe that we'll have it to you, boom, and that will fix all three of these problems. Right, but right now we're in trouble.
Yep.
Got to put your hand
Yep.
up, but
Yep.
never lift your kilt until you know you got your jocks on.
Right, so magic stuff. We've done that one. Change control. What
Okay,
magic
so
tricks do you have for this one?
so this one,
What it sounds silly. Explain change control in basic terms.
okay, so issue management. Everything we talked about with issue management is about, oh, this is a problem, that's a problem, that doesn't work. Change control is about they come to you and they say, we just found out that this is happening, so we need that in the system. We go, hang on a sec, righto. So what's all that about? So now I haul in the lead architect and I say, okay. So I say to the customer, all right, listen, I hear what you're saying. You think you've got a good idea as well. Right. So we don't want to lose this idea. Here is a form. I want you to take this form away and fill it out and bring it back to me in an hour, right? Because we don't want to lose hold of this. So you go away and do that. In the meantime, I'll talk to Blogs about what that potentially means. So he goes away with the form. Now I'm talking to my lead architect and saying, listen, this is what they're telling me. What are we going to do about that? Oh, that's simple. We just do that. Fine. Okay. How simple? Dead simple. Right. So how much time will it take and how many people do we need to do that? We probably need a couple of people, 2 or 3 weeks. Right. Guess what? We're not doing it. So now we come back to my original mantra of finding a really nice way to say no. So then we've got the issue written down. If the guy doesn't fill in the form, it doesn't go anywhere. If he fills in the form, I got something I can hang on to. I can start reporting what they asked for, who asked for it, what the logic and the rationality was, what the cost and impact's going to be, both in terms of budget and, more importantly, schedule. Now, if I've got those 5 things, then I can go and I can take it and I can argue against it. Or I can just say, okay, put it in front of the stakeholders and say, okay, you guys, you make a decision about what you want to do. Do you want to go forward with this? You realise it's going to put your go live date back by probably about 4 or 5 weeks. Even though it's only 3 weeks to do the deal, it's got to be tested. You've got to test it. You've got to be happy with it. People have got to be trained to use it. You decide whether you want to go ahead with it. And if they go, yeah, we can go ahead with it, I go, okay. They're giving me the nod. They're giving me the money. They're giving me the space. So now I'll get into the plan and work out where we're going to put it. So I'll sit down with the lead architect, work out where it will fit comfortably in the plan, and then we'll just give everybody a thumbs up and say, we're going ahead with it. Done.
But strangely enough, this is to protect the client as much as it is you, isn't it? I mean, this isn't necessarily just a cover my ass situation.
No.
This is visibility, making sure everyone's aware, bringing the customer with you as well.
Yep. And even when we say no nicely, even when we say no, it's still about let's not lose this idea, because fundamentally it might be a good idea. It might have some legs in their customer space, in their business space, and it may lead to other things that would be developed for the benefit of our customer and their customers. So what we need to do is to make sure we don't lose it. If it's a good idea, we need to hang on to it.
Yep.
And then as I've said in the past, one of the benefits for us is when we finish the project, I trot out all these change control request forms and say, okay, what do you want to do now? Have a work through this, pick out 50, and that'll be our new project.
Yep. Yep. But it's, yeah, okay, it's all good. But this is very different from an issue management, isn't it? So
Absolutely.
this is, yeah, two totally different things.
Yeah.
And is that a
doesn't
common
shelve
mistake?
an issue. One
Yeah.
solves the issue in any one of a dozen ways, but an issue has to be solved. A change request is a totally different animal. It is a request for change. Do I
Yep.
want to agree with that request or not agree with it? It really isn't my prerogative. So, but what I need to do is to collect all the facts and then go back to the management and say, what do you want to do? If the management say, no, who came up with this bloody bright idea? Well, I know exactly who came up with it. I know
Who,
when
where,
they
what,
came
when.
up to it, and I
Yeah.
know what the impacts are.
So that's back to your three-cornered hat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Scope, time, cost, put it all together. There we go. We can do whatever you want. You can make it pink.
Yeah.
But it's going to cost.
Exactly. It's going to take 3 weeks to change all the screens. It's going to cost 4 people for 3 weeks, and it's going to move it's going to impact the go live date. That's the biggie. It's going to impact the go live date by a week and a half. So instead of going live on the 4th of June weekend or the 4th of July weekend, you've now got to find another weekend 2 weeks further on.
Yeah. And as you said, there's then a knock on and a knock on. It's simple, this project management, really, isn't it, Brian?
It's a piece of cake, Chris. I don't know why you're not doing it.
Well, I think on that one we probably reached the end of this session. Do you think?
Yeah, I think we have. I think we.
Should we leave reporting for another day?
I think we've done it. Yeah, I think we will. Reporting will take us a session because it's all about the stats. It's all about how do I collect it, what do I collect, and having collected, what the hell do I do with it? I don't want to be given my stakeholders, whoever they are, including my own people, like yards and yards. I want to compress it down. I want to say, this is where we're at. This is where we should be. We are X percentage complete up to this point, where we should be. We've spent Y percentage of the budget. And so long as X and Y are where they ought to be and not like that or like that, then we're in good shape. So all
simple
of that,
as.
Yeah, it is. As I said, I don't know why you're not doing this stuff, Chris. It's easy. It's fun and it's challenging. And at the end of the day, success is rewarding.
Yep. Well, there we are, Brian. I think at the end of the day, though, is that if everyone could do project management, we wouldn't need project managers. And the reality is that's the whole reason why you exist, because it isn't easy to do all this stuff. And as I say, it's, look, another great session. Thank you very much. Hope everyone's enjoyed this one, and we'll look forward to the next session. Brian, from my point of view, thank you very much. I'm sorry it's taken a bit of time to get here. I mean, it's taken so long. You've decided to move house. I mean, I know you haven't sold one yet.
No, actually, bit of news yesterday.
Good stuff.
Yesterday.
Wow. Well, congratulations. So, on that note, have we got the project plan in place? Have you started this change control yet, or?
We're working on it.
Well, yeah. I'd like to see the project management plan, and if you've got a successful one for your wife, I think we could work out how you can become a millionaire if it was as simple as that.
She'll be the stakeholder, mate, the major stakeholder. Gee whiz.
Well, there we are.
Oh, thank you.
All right, guys. Right, look.
I've enjoyed it. I hope the people that we're trying to help actually get something out of it. And we'll see where reporting goes, because reporting kind of wraps it all up. All right?
Sounds like a good one. All right, take care. I'll speak to you soon. Thanks, Brian.
Pleasure, Chris. Bye.